There's a popular trend online of Iceberg videos, where people recount certain layers to a game, franchise, person, etc. This video is sort of like this, in which I'm going to be talking about Bioshock, but less focused on the series itself and more on the effects it has on you. Also because I found 2 other videos on the Bioshock Iceberg and I don't want to take away viewers from people who aren't taking the piss. With this video, I hope to prove to you the depth of my love for Bioshock, and subsequently why these games are a one-way path to self-destruction. But what first sets you down on this path? The chance purchase that will end up being your unravelling will occur in February 2020, when the Bioshock Remastered trilogy gets put as one of the PS Plus games of the month. This was a time back when the games of the month weren't milquetoast BR games that were free anyway. You think to yourself, I've heard of it. I think it's the one with the plot twist, which I half remember, and the setting which looks kind of cool. I'll give it a go. So you proceed to download it. And not give it a go. No, this is a different time, when you still have 4.5 palaces left to go in Persona 5, when Warzone is something that was eating up your spare time and memory data, when you were doing the Rosetta Stone Japanese course every morning, which is a habit that definitely wouldn't go down as shitter. No, you have to wait an exact year, as in the February of 2021, after taking your sweet time with Cyberpunk and Jedi Fallen Order, you give it a go. You proceed to adore it in all its atmospheric glory, even though it took you a bloody hour to figure out where you were meant to go during the medical pavilion level. You then start up Bioshock 2, when you proceed to go through one mission, then get to the bit where you have to do a turret section of the Little Sister, and you keep dying while having 0 bullets left, so fuck that. You skip straight onto Infinite, and are deeply engrossed in its narrative, so much that you're a keen appreciator of the additional Burial at Sea DLC. This seems to be something great in what currently seems to be an ever-expanding period of mundanity. But much like Adam within the narrative itself, this will only end up in addiction, schizophrenic rambling, and narcissism over your supposed improvement, which will go into effect by the time you reach... You'll take it upon yourself to evangelise to as many people as possible about why this game is the tits. Are they having a conversation about video games? Bring up Bioshock. Are they having a conversation about art? Bring up Bioshock. Are they having a conversation about the weather? Bring up how it's actually quite hot, you know, and that causes you to sweat. Sweat is a man not entitled to the sweat off his brow. You like the game so much that you reactivate your old Steam account, which was previously accessed only to play Team Fortress 2, and now you're using it to buy some of Ken Levine's other games, like Thief and System Shock 2. You haven't played any of them yet, but you sure like flexing on everyone that you own these games. This is the point where you start to notice the psychological restructuring that's taken place, because now Bioshock is appearing in your dreams. Frequently. I mean, would have been a coincidence if it had stopped after you had the dream about playing Connect 4 with Sander Cohen, but it didn't stop there, because then you had to have the one where you were asking one of the most established professors ever what the pinnacle of storytelling was, and they replied, "Oh, well that's easy, Bioshock." To quote Confucius, if a smart elderly person says it in a dream, it must be true. But you're only dreaming for 8 hours a day, I think. What are you doing to spread the good word of Bioshock while you're awake? Well, you're comparing literally everything to the series. Specifically, how it's an inferior version of Bioshock. Subnautica? I think you'll find there's a better game set underwater that makes me poo, and it's called Bioshock. Metroid Prime 3 has a world which is comprised of a city above the clouds which you have to traverse using sky rails. I think you'll find that's a rip-off of Columbia from Bioshock Infinite. You might be saying that it came out in 2013, whereas Metroid Prime 3 came out in 2007, but I think you'll find the game is set 46 years before Bioshock 1, so by that logic, the game came out 46 years before Bioshock 1, so I think you'll find that Metroid Prime 3 ripped off a game from 1961. Oh, you say the French capital is an original idea. I think you'll find it's actually based off that place from Burial at Sea Part 2. The galls of these people to think they created Paris. Sorry, I meant to say the Gauls are the people who think they created Paris, but they didn't, because it was Ken fucking Levine. Things are now getting really dire, because you're considering playing Bioshock 2. You think to yourself, hey, the way they did hacking was actually a massive improvement from the first one, or I'm sort of interested in where the story might go. Listen, I know this video is meant to be jokey, but please don't act upon these urges and instead seek help from a qualified psychiatrist. But while we're in the process of slagging off the other Bioshock titles, I suppose this is a good time as any to start ragging on Bioshock Infinite. A regenerating shield, catering to scrubs, that is. 2 weapons, what is this, the Middle Ages? A fully voiced protagonist, Booker DeWitt, more like Booker de shit. Oh. You must devote yourself to Bioshock 1 and Bioshock 1 only, so much that you have now memorised a few of Andrew Ryan's monologues, to the point that you start reciting them when you're drunk in the street, much to the confusion of everyone around you, including the few friends who aren't yet too embarrassed to be seen with you. We've established that Bioshock will affect your rest and play in previous layers, but how will it affect your work? Well, you start growing slightly accustomed to the idea of living underwater, so you start looking into getting a job on a submarine. The largest company in the UK that will allow one to work on a submarine is the Royal Navy Submarine Service. I know that it is a government organisation and thus property of the parasites, but bugger it, beggars can't be choosers. You get looking for ads for the job, and, well, my years of hentai overconsumption has made me realise that that much pixelation can only mean one thing. Although speaking of porn, the only way you can get it up anymore is by jerking it to Elizabeth porn. Yes, I did just do a paragraph about why Bioshock Infinite is for plebs, but let's discard it, since Elizabeth is technically the only waifu in the Bioshock canon, with the exception of the Senjo Gahara cameo in the beginning of the first game. In the previous section, I made a joke about exclusively jerking it to Elizabeth porn, and I want you to ignore that last part, right? It was a joke. I don't recommend you do that. Because you should be exclusively jerking it to
Fontaine's glorious Anus.
Atlas, more like dat ass, am I right? Anyway, where was I? You then take to theorising in your spare time about some of the ideas presented in the Bioshock games, such as, are there parallel universes? If so, who is you from the Comstock universe? One will need to consider when their quote-unquote rebirth was. My respective baptism was the creation of this channel, where I made a countdown video, frequently referenced Sonic, and gave props to things for superficial reasons. Oh shit. I realise now. The Comstock version of me is the top 10 hottest Sonic characters guy. Whew, thank God I didn't turn out like that. You start to think about what we covered in the Rapture street level section in a bit more depth, and you've come to a realisation. That guy hasn't posted in ages, and something tells me it isn't because they're running a skyborn theocracy. Perhaps he's doing something different now. He's probably happy. Might have even started a family, albeit probably with someone who had 2 large braids of hair. Meanwhile, what have I got? Misery. That's what. If only I was in their position right now, and had a family. Hang on. Does this mean I want to steal their family? Oh, fuck, I'm the Comstock of this universe. Realising what must be done, you run yourself a bath, as it's time to snuff out all versions of yourself before you can become Comstock and have your daughter take over the world in the 1980s because of you being late for their lobotomy or something. Bloody hell, that plot was weird. Anyway, you drown yourself, meaning that all this madness can come to an end. There is one final act that is so far down the iceberg that I'm probably the first person to ever do this. This will involve you going onto the internet to look up the most forbidden of knowledge. How do you pronounce Ken Levine's name? Well, I'll be damned. It's actually pronounced Levine, not Levine. Would you kindly forget that I've been mispronouncing it this entire video?